and I'll persist my 2-2 and kill your guys.
Seems pretty good.
Oh, so we have Jonathan Sukenik versus Edgar Flores. Edgar top-8'd last week with Blue-White Cobblade, right? So no word on whether or not he's updated his list to come a little closer to Jerry and my list. But
John is a very good local New Jersey player.
yeah.
He's at Rutgers. It's a mainstay there at their Friday Night Magic scene. I've been down there a few times and played against him. Been there. Also played against him in a number of PTQs. I had him cast a Bitter Blossom on turn 2 against me, a Duran against me on turn 3, and a Mistbind Click on turn 4. Once.
I can't imagine you knew what to do against that particular start.
I lost that game, and I actually lost that match. It's pretty good.
Man, that seems like a running pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he did particularly well in that PDQ, but it was like round 3, and when you're drawing well with cards like that,
yeah,
you got all the most powerful cards. It's not too
it seems
bad.
like a deck to run well with.
Edgar is another New York area player. He's the type of guy who he'll see at a lot of the area tournaments.
Yeah.
Part of the Christian Calcano crew at times, part of the Nicholas Spagnolo crew at times.
Yeah.
And do we know what John is playing?
No idea. Hi, John. Like he could hear us.
Yeah, I mean, he's one for a homebrew.
I mean, he's played a lot of green-white decks in the day.
Has he?
Yeah.
John.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
been beating them, so.
And instantly.
I saw blue cards.
Yeah, I thought I saw a Jace or a Mana Leak.
I saw a Mana Leak at least, and I think I also saw a Jace.
Okay.
I thought I saw an Explorer, but I could be wrong.
So we could just be playing the super exciting Cobblade mirror match.
We could have a rug deck.
Yeah.
And John's got to be happy. His home area.
Yeah.
Doing well like this. Represent.
No, I know.
He doesn't really travel to tournaments either, so it's good that he gets to do well when it actually comes to town.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? What's wrong with it?
So bad? That's so bad?
I mean, Edgar gets to play. Just, yeah, it looks like John has a rug deck here.
So we get to see another blue-white versus rug matchup.
So we still don't have deck list, right? Okay. So yeah, I'm joining now. Coming back from
So Gavin Verhey has rejoined us in the booth.
a slight dinner break. All right, and so yeah, it looks to be rug versus blue white. So Edgar made top 8 last week, correct?
Yeah.
With this deck, do we know if he's playing red?
Blue white. No, it looks like he's still playing the Silvok Life staff also.
Yeah.
I like that. I think, yeah.
Let's
I
do-
think it's better in this metagame. I think we've seen a lot more red than we have in past weeks.
I mean, our team's logic was that Basilisk Collar does a lot of what Silvok Lifestaff wants to do, while also obviously just playing a lot better with Cunning Spark Mage, and that you don't really want both. So I think that's a pretty good indicator that he's on straight blue-white.
We see some old school Jace there.
Wow.
From Edgar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Little Jace is pretty reasonable. Like, everyone's trying to go for the big Jace, but yeah, I mean, it can get attacked by, the creatures opponents have. It's not as good against Squadron Hawk, but if they don't have that kind of opening, it can just provide you with so many cards.
Yeah. I mean, this is a format full of very good 2s and very good 4s, and not a whole lot on 3 in any deck. So having something to do on 3 on the play is very good, because it lets you, get your mana value in, and then untap and have a lot of action coming for turns 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. So, all right, and in comes Raging Ravine off that Lotus Cobra.
Yeah, Raging Ravine isn't going to be as good in this matchup as it was against AJ.
Because you Tectonic Edge?
Yeah, because he has Tectonic Edge, so it's, just another card.
Absolutely.
And, Edgar may have lost the card off that Jace there, but he had another Jace in hand, ready to go.
Yeah.
And he really just wanted to make John, tap his lands, force him to do that. It's a pretty interesting play. He probably had a good read that his opponent didn't have full.
Alright, and here comes down Preordain for Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, this is what could be the beginning of why Lotus Cobra is just so insane against Blue-White. I mean, without a way to really kill Lotus Cobra, Rug
takes
can,
over the game.
Yeah, absolutely dominate the pace of play. Slow it down or speed it up pretty much exactly as it wants. Yeah.
So,
Already eating up 2 counters from Jason Mind Sculptor.
yeah, I mean, it's almost like effectively destroying Jace on its own. I guess you have to pay
Right.
2 mana every turn, but he does take down that Ravine, which is going to pose an issue.
Yeah.
And probably see another Cobra come back down here again.
Yeah. I mean, he just needs to keep his board position, but, I mean, Mana Leak is just devastating right here. If he Mana Leaks the Cobra.
Alright, here comes Cobra. And it looks like it sticks.
Yeah, looks like he doesn't have the Mana Leak for it.
Trying to get a glimpse of what's in Edgar's hand, but all the foils make it
Oh,
difficult.
we do have Mana Leak.
Oh, so okay, does have Mana Leak. Looks like we've got Sea Chrome Coast, Sylvok Lifestaff, Day of Judgment?
Yeah.
Or wait, no, is that Stoneforge Mystic, Day of Judgment, Lifestaff? I'm not certain. There might not be a Sea Chrome Coast in there.
There's definitely a Day of Judgment, there's definitely a Stoneforge Mystic, there's definitely a Seacrum Coast, there's definitely a Sylvok Lifestaff.
Okay, so that's 4.
Very, very foiled out deck.
Yeah, it is pretty. I don't know what else to say. And the nice Tezzeret sleeves backing it all on top of that.
Yeah.
And here comes another Preordain. Such a crucial card. Just digs you to what you're looking for. And in this matchup, it's so important to find exactly the pieces that you need.
Yeah. I mean, like right here, Inferno Titan may be a good card in the matchup, but certainly not what you want to draw. Definitely want to draw those Scalding turns. So Raging Ravine will probably conclude a rather disappointing turn for Jonathan.
And now that Raging Ravine gets Jace gets active, rather, it's just to actually start doing things as opposed to just bouncing Lotus Cobra.
Yeah, and Tectonic Edge to back the Jace up. Yeah, this is looking very, very bad for Jonathan already.
And here comes
Edgar
the swords.
has contained Lotus Cobra, has
Man, Edgar's so
Tectonic
tight.
Edged him twice now, and
I said, Edgar's so tight.
yeah, and has effectively stuck a Jace. So I don't see Jonathan winning this game.
Yeah, this is rough. He's Halimar depthing, and I don't know how much else he's really going to be able to do this turn.
I think he has a mountain in his hand, so...
He has a mountain in his hand, but 2 of his Raging Ravines are dead. He doesn't have any red sources. All of his action comes on
Well, I mean, he has
6.
2 mountains in his hands.
Yeah, 5 and 6. He has the mountains, but without any... His Cobra's dead. He hasn't explored. He's playing a game at the pace of a blue-white deck.
Yeah.
But...
He wants to get in there underneath them. That's his whole...
Right.
You know...
And Edgar's really gotten on top of this game.
Yeah. That's some good play. And just quickly chooses 1 card to put back. And there's the other card. And what are we going to see here? Tectonic Edge. Oh.
Number 3. And
Take down the Halimar Depths.
Yeah, that's going to eat the Halimar Depths, right?
I mean, it depends on what else he's doing, but just like you were saying, Drew, I mean, this match changes significantly because of those Tectonic Edges, where AJ had trouble against Raging Ravines and stuff here. Edgar was just like, all right, whatever.
He's using them as a liability.
Yeah, entirely. They're no longer one of the biggest threats. Instead, they're just a liability. So
we're seeing the strengths of the blue-white version, the original version.
Yeah. I mean, it was fairly lucky of Edgar to hit Mana Leak in the 2 shots that he had at bouncing Lotus Cobra while also keeping his chase around. So...
That was the only way he can win.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, but I don't know. Even if that Lotus Cobra sticks, I think Edgar might still been able to have some play. Obviously, it was awesome for him that he drew that Mana Leak, though.
Yeah.
And now Jace just gets to brainstorm over and over, which is pretty absurd.
Yeah.
And, okay, so Jonathan's finally... All right, let's try and trade Jace's... Oh, and Spell Pierce.
Wow. And he gets to Violin Sword. Yeah.
And then he gets to untap, equip Sword, probably cast a spell.
He vials in Feast and Famine. So he's going to get to play a land. Does it come into play untapped?
Draws 3.
Now it does.
So Gideon in there.
I see puts back 2 planes, it looks like. Equips.
Equips, and he gets the okay from Jonathan that it's safe.
Tap some mana.
Squadron Hawks. Plays another Squadron Hawk.
More of these Squadron Hawks.
Well, gets 3 and is going to play a second. Untap all of his lands after dealing 4 to Jonathan.
And I think he's also going to play Gideon this turn?
Yeah, no, that seems like a pretty good turn.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, what a turn by Edgar Flores.
I mean, really just a typical 6th turn.
Yeah, you know.
And so, does he not cast that Squadron Hawk? I suppose he chose not to.
Huh. Not sure what he was playing around there.
I mean, it's possible that he's just concerned that maybe Jonathan has something like Pyroclasm main deck, or maybe he's going to...
Yeah, right now he really doesn't need to commit more than 1 Squadron Hawk because each one is such a threat from the swords.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he has the game pretty firmly in his grip. I don't know if he wants to commit a bunch of Hawks,
like
especially...
cancel some other things. So he probably just wants to win with what he has on the table.
Especially because next turn he can activate that Colonnade.
Doesn't play Gideon.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to leave up cancel mana.
Does he have that in his deck?
But
Cancel?
He does have
It's in his hand right now.
Oh, wow.
Don't need to Stoke Rebuttal people when you just cancel.
Yeah.
That's a neat little one. Did he have that last week?
Cancel?
Yeah.
Not sure.
And let's see what Jonathan's play is. It's almost certainly going to be Land Inferno Titan, all right?
Right.
Which runs right into the counter magic. And
That was
cancel.
easy.
Yep, easy button. And
Yeah.
now
So we've got another now we've got Celestial Colonnade active, so
Yeah.
we're gonna see
Probably just surf
Jonathan
for 9, right?
take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah,
And then,
down to 4.
then do some brainstorming.
Oh yeah,
you know.
brainstorm, of course.
I mean, it's
Untap some
yeah.
lands,
This
yeah.
game is fairly firmly in Edgar's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan just has no outs at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, those tectonic edges were absolutely gigantic. I mean, that is definitely one advantage the straight blue-white version has over the new red version, is it does get to play with tectonic edge.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself missing today, tectonic edge today at all, Drew?
I mean, it would have been really good in some of the man-land fights, I'm not going to lie. But between that and Lightning Bolt, I'll take Bolt every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Bolt was just so good for me. But, I mean, clearly Tectonic Edge is doing Edgar a world of good. And Gideon.
Gideon. John Paxson.
Yeah, he just,
And that is.
and that's the game. So Edgar Flores off to a pretty fast game 1 lead here.
As far as blue-white game ones go,
Yeah, exactly.
that's pretty fast. I mean, this new blue-white deck, though, you know, it's not a control deck.
Right.
It is a control
fish
deck, but it's
It feels and plays very much like a fish deck. You have your creatures, you have your removal, you have your counters, and you have to manage them. And you
Yeah.
have to pick your spots. Because
you
there
never
are
run out of
spots now.
cards. I've watched way too many people just run out all of their Squadron Hawks, and I like that Edgar just waited there because he has multiple days in his hand. Like, what if his opponent just somehow sticks an Adventure or something traps when he casts a spell, like something random that he hasn't seen before?
Right.
Well, then it's okay. He can just Day of Judgment. He has a Jason on the table.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're such a lock to win the game. The only way you could possibly lose is by just committing too many resources, have your opponent do something unforeseen, and then,
Have your resources be irrelevant.
Right.
yeah.
But even then, he could do something like chase my Stoneforge, re-Stoneforge, get the other sword, cast sword, equip get pro green and attack the Reventor.
That's true.
I mean, there's surely plays he could have done. I think in his head he knew that it was very unlikely to matter no matter what he did.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, usually when you're in that position, the thing that you intuitively do is take the road of caution.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he did that.
And played Titan was rewarded for it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he played really well that game. Let's see, so can we get a glimpse at all of what these players are sideboarding in? Saw some Spell Pierces, but I think he's taking those out.
Yeah, I don't like Spell Pierce against someone like Jonathan.
It's
Especially
not very good when they have cards like Inferno Titan and
Frost Titan.
I mean, it depends
Lotus
on whether or
Cobra.
not they
Yeah,
slam
exactly.
their Jason to your Spell Pierce on turn 3 or 4. I mean, if they do, then by all means, leave all of them in.
And he did
but
last game.
If they're just casting 2 Explorers and then casting Jace on 7, then your Spell Pierce is dead, buddy.
it's pretty bad.
So
For countering the Explorers,
Yeah.
which I
yeah.
guess is fine.
I mean, it's fine if you spike the Explorer on turn 2, but then it's just a card.
Yeah, it's
congratulations, you spell snared his rampant growth. Cool.
So for those of you just joining us, I'm Gavin Verhey, joined here by my co-host Jacob Van Lunen, as well as
Drew Levin.
who's played an event earlier today and picked up his second loss, but is in the booth with us for a little while to discuss the match. And we're watching the match between Edgar Flores, who you can see on the right side of your screen. He top-aided last weekend. He's playing just straight-up blue-white Cobblade, no red, none of that stuff. He's like, I'm just going to play Tectonic Edges. I'm going to do what I know, and it's working out pretty well for him so far. Also, could just be, I've got all the foil cards for this deck, don't want to play any non-foil ones.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's hard to find a Spark Mage that's foiled out.
And on your left, you have Jonathan Sukenik, who is playing Rug. It looks to be fairly traditional Rug list. A couple of Inferno Titans.
Yeah.
But maybe there's more stock now. This is at the Standard Open Series for Star City Games here in Edison. It's round 8, so this round and 2 more after that. The quarterfinals haven't moved to tomorrow morning, so we'll be covering those then.
Yeah, I feel bad for everyone who's making the quarterfinals, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it's cool, make some money, whatever, but waking up at, 6:30, that's rough life.
Oh, it's starting earlier?
I mean, I would assume so, unless they're starting the Legacy at 11.
Well, they can have both running at the same time. Like during the finals.
But then the players who
Don't
can't
get to
play
play both.
So what? They just came in the finals of an event.
I was more excited about playing the Legacy event than I was about winning the finals of Indy. I mean, my mistake, but I was definitely more excited about that Legacy tournament.
I thought I heard them announce at one point it was going to start earlier, but I never caught wind of exactly what the situation was. I'm sure we'll find out as things wind out tonight, and we are told what time we have to be back here in the morning.
That's true. I have to drive home 45 minutes, then I have to drive back here 45 minutes tomorrow morning.
Yikes. Get some 5-hour energy.
I'm not looking forward to...
So in the meanwhile, Edgar Flores leads on a Seachrome coast, and Jonathan did some pondering. Now it looks like some exploring is likely to occur here.
Yeah.
Would not surprise me at all.
So, let's see if he has his spell pierces in.
The foil cards make it difficult to get a read on what's in Edgar's hand.
Yeah,
but
no, he's got a Seachrome Coast up front.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like he has the pierce from what I've seen.
I mean, especially when all of the key cards in the matchup are 5, 6, and 7 mana creatures. I don't see why his pierce would be good.
Yeah, it seems like he would probably board that spell piercer. Once again, we don't have the deck list in front of us, so we don't know what he has to bring in. If there's aren't a lot of cards for him to bring in, that's one thing. But I'd imagine he probably has enough action that he would be willing to cut those spell pierces pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like he's got a Manlink and a Preordain in Jonathan's hand, a Jace, a Lightning Bolt, a couple lands, 1 or 2 lands.
John's probably just going to preordain here and then pass the turn.
That seems like the most likely course of
before he
action.
plays land drop. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And if you want to Manlink that Preordain, you are free to do that. Go ahead. Alright, so he ships both of them to the south and draws his card. Inferno Titan.
It's a pretty good one to draw there.
Yeah, it's been a great card for pretty much everybody all weekend.
Every time we see somebody playing Inferno Titan, it's always,
Yeah.
well, there it is.
Yeah.
Or it gets countered.
Oh, in which case, there it was.
Yeah.
Alright, and here comes down Little Jace.
Just casually trying to bin it. And, wow, gets him.
I think you have to Manlink that.
Do you?
Because Jonathan can now play his own Jace and, get an effect, get a brainstorm off of it.
Sure. But why would he do that unless he didn't want him to,
Maybe he did it because he didn't think.
Yeah. Just tried to triple level him?
Triple level, yeah, sure, why not?
The super level?
I mean, yeah, the next level.
I think Edgar is kind of just one of those people with like a defeatist mentality about Magic, where like
yeah,
he's just like, you obviously have it, just show it to me. All right, good, thanks.
Thank you for mana leaking my Jays. Why don't you untap and play your own? Good advice, Edgar. I'll do just that.
Totally. So some brainstorming is occurring. And it's a matter of figuring out what he's doing.
Patrick Sullivan, now 7-1.
Game 2 was he died without me hitting with a creature. Just no.
Patrick Sullivan just explained to us that in his second game in his match, he actually killed his opponent entirely with burn spells. He never attacked with a single creature, so it's pretty exciting.
That's how it's meant to be done. That's how you drew it up, right? No, maybe not.
I mean,
Come on around, Patrick.
yeah, sure.
All right, now Edgar has a Jace of his own to kill the Jace.
Decent match, so I don't want to steal all his thunder or whatever, you know?
We have John can just. I mean, he has the land, right? He can just slam an Inferno Titan.
Pretty sure.
So
Yeah, no,
Edgar has the
that's,
day,
that's
right?
a Scalding Tarn up front.
Okay. Edgar is handling this surprisingly well. You know, his opponent had a mana leak for his Jace, followed by his own big Jace, and now is laying on an Inferno Titan, and Edgar's just going to Day of Judgment. Edgar's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the Inferno Titan is gotta get that off the board. I mean, Edgar's been playing really tight. Obviously, like, yeah, it seems so obvious. Okay, well, duh, these guys' Day of Judgment is going to leave it, but opposite preordained. But I mean, just the way he's playing his cards.
Yeah, Edgar here might just play a guy, force John to like burn it with the Inferno Titan, and then get him some damage, and then he can leave open counter magic, and then he can counter anything else that John does. And then on his next turn, he can just spike the Inferno Titan with his Gideon.
That's very true. Or if Jonathan decides to unload more creatures onto the battlefield. Yeah, there we go, Stoneforge Mystic. Because, yeah, that way if John's like, oh, maybe the coast is clear, he doesn't have the day, he just drops another guy out there or whatever, then the day will even clean up an extra creature on top of the Titan. Granted that Raging Ravine is getting in this turn, but...
Yeah, I mean, the issue is Edgar is going to 6 here. I mean, he's gonna...
It's been double bolt range, too.
Yeah, the Stoneforge Mystic's going to get 2. Edgar takes the remaining 1 from Inferno Titan. Raging Ravine deals 4, and Inferno Titan deals 4, so he takes 11 down to 6. Or not. Just plays Jace.
Seems like a reasonable card to cast. He's figuring out how he wants to tap his lands, see if he's going to optimize his Inferno Titan ability. See, Misty Rainforest, Inferno Titan.
That's another
Explore.
There's some Inferno Titan action happening. He's like, oh, keep these.
Oh, I want this Inferno Titan.
That doesn't
These
seem too
lands
good.
are terrible.
Clearly.
I mean, at this point...
I'd like a hot dog.
Maybe Jace can give me one of those, too. Alright, so yeah. Kicks down that Stoneforge Mystic and bashes Edgar. And then he just passes, choosing to not pump the Inferno Titan at all.
So Edgar's at 10, which is a pretty manageable life total at this point.
So I guess Mana Leak, right?
No, I think he's just representing it.
I mean, it's not like he's not going to play Gideon, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was just representing the Mana Leak. Doesn't actually have it in his hand.
Yeah, it seems poor.
Yeah, he should have just dumped the mana into the Titan at that point.
Yeah.
I think he probably should have just played the Ravine. Activated the Ravine.
Yeah, I mean, I would have definitely just put him on 6.
I mean, I would have probably tagged with the Ravine too, but clearly in his head he thought that, well, maybe, it's better to bluff this. Maybe he'll try and do something different, wait till my turn, which is a reasonable line of play. It's not what I would have done, but,
I mean, putting your opponent on 6 when you have Inferno Titan's lightning bolt in your head.
Well, and you have a Raging Ravine that can attack for 5. You have a lightning bolt in your hand. And he has to cast Gideon to kill your,
So he chooses to bolt.
Your guy.
So he chooses to bolt the Gideon. And here comes another Inferno Titan, I'd imagine, which will finish off that Gideon and hit Edgar for 2.
I don't think it can do that.
Oh, no, it can't. You have to redirect all the damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one effect.
Alright, so that's fine. Kills the Gideon when it comes out. I think he drew a 3rd Inferno Titan, is that correct?
I
Filthy.
believe that is, in fact.
Oh, and a Mana Leak.
And there's the Mana Leak that he tried to represent last turn.
Wow. Those are like the best cards he could have drawn.
Yeah. Man, that's lucky.
And here comes Inferno Titan. And plucks down Jace. No, or plucks down Gideon rather, and Edgar has another Gideon in his hand, but the question is, can he survive to the point where that'll be manageable? And that Mana Leak...
pretty rough right now.
Yeah, the Mana Leak is just going to do him in.
Because he's like, oh, okay, well, Jonathan didn't have Mana Leak last turn, otherwise he obviously would have Mana Leaked my Gideon, right?
Right, but he had 4 cards to hit the Mana Leak and dead.
Yeah. Alright, he just packs him and doesn't even bother.
He knows.
He just knows. He's got the read. And that's that. So we go into game 3. So, what do you think? He's going back to a sideboard here. What do you think he's changing around for the third game potentially?
I mean, it's possible that he's. I mean, I don't know what Edgar has in his board is the thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
Do we think that he's just playing Ben Stark's version from the PT?
Whatever he played last year, I think is probably most likely.
I mean, that's probably what Edgar's
Or
playing.
sorry, last week. So let's see. Let's take a look over.
Edgar being on the play here is pretty nice advantage.
Let's see. So last week he had a mortar pod, a bunch of ratchet bombs, a sort of body in mind, a Baneslayer Angel, a Deprive, 3 Divine Offerings, an Elspeth Tyrell, and 4 Oust.
The Elspeth Tyrell seems so good. Seems like such a good sideboard card.
I mean, the 4 Oust seem insane on the play. Like, just hit your Lotus Cobra. Nice card.
Yeah, Kibler said back in San Jose, and obviously the matchup has changed quite a bit, but he said that Lotus Cobra was, the reason why blue-white would lose against the rug decks, because they could just get such a quick start off of it. And
Right.
if you could just oust it, it hurt them so much, because then they were drawing it at a point where they didn't want the Lotus Cobra, and it just, bought you those 2 turns that you needed
Right.
to set up your resources.
Yeah, Oust has to put him pretty far ahead.
Yeah, oust here seems excellent. Now, presuming he still has those, of course, he might go the Elspeth Tyrell route if he still has that.
Yeah, I mean, he would probably just be cutting Gideons for Elspeth, right?
Yes.
I mean, you don't want 4 3 white planeswalkers.
Right. And we saw at least 2 Gideons last game, so I'm not sure what configuration he had.
Yeah.
And then the players shuffle up. What do you think the key points of this game 3 are going to be?
I mean, it's always turn 2 and turn 4, and
Seems reasonable.
I mean, you have Mana Leak on 2, you have Oust on the play on 2, on 3, which is actually really awesome. It's exactly why I'd want Oust on the play but not the draw, because you go, Stoneforge Mystic or Squadron Hawk into Oust your Cobra another 2.
Yeah.
And that's just such a dominating play.
Earlier when we saw Stephen Megos play against Patrick Sullivan, we saw Steve on the draw brought in his flash freezes against Pat, but on the play he brought in his Cunning Spark Mages.
Right.
And it's the same exact theory.
Right.
Just
It's all about mana management,
on
right?
on the perfect turn. So
Right. You don't want to like tap out on turn 3 and hold your 2 mana spell, your counter spell in your hand. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Whereas on turn 3, like when they're casting Koth on 4, you want to be able to flash freeze it, untap, and cast Jace.
Correct. So looking over Edgar's opening hand here, we saw some lands, a Jace, a Preordain.
Okay, I'm stepping out for a bit.
All right, see you in a little bit, Drew. Take care.
now, John's mulliganing down this game. He's on the draw though, and the deck mulligans well. He has copies of Jace and things like that.
So mulligan. Let's see. So Edgar seemed pretty happy with his hand, but it didn't seem to have an oust, right?
I do not think he has.
Or an early answer. We get a different vantage point here. I think it's not a
I
sword.
saw a Deprive. I saw a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of cheese and Hammond.
This is, I don't know, like we watched this last round. We watched this last round too, and the matchup seemed pretty close. Let's see what time we've got. Oh, that's a mulligan for sure. Because that's only one land, right?
Lander.
Oh,
Oh,
he kept.
he was on the
There was
draw.
one
I mean,
land.
he has a Ponder and an Explorer.
One land. Man, I don't know. The one land preordained hand always makes me scared. Maybe
he's on the mulligan.
maybe
you know.
on the mulligan. I don't know. Just if you're on the draw, I feel like you can maybe make up the card to make up for it. Because if you just miss like your third land drop, you're in a rough spot. Plus, that Explore isn't going to help you that much if you don't have another land to put down. So if all you're doing is cantripping, well, it's not that exciting. Yep, and there are 2 non-lands draws. A drew land. Okay, and a preordained from Edgar.
Looks like they're playing this game. Edgar has one of those tectonic edges in his hand. Now we saw in game 1 just how influential those are
Yeah.
in this match.
I mean, that could be a breaker when you're
especially
mulliganing.
when he's on the play.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just keeps them off Raging Ravine or even the colors. So, yeah, I mean, this is even rougher for Jonathan now because he doesn't even have a green source.
Yeah, he doesn't have the green. I mean, he can mana leak a Jace here if Edgar goes for it, but I think Edgar is content to just play Drago for a little while.
Yeah, it's especially when he finds out Jonathan is land light. Though he did draw a Scalding Tarn this turn, which doesn't help him lose that impression yet. It just shows that he's green, add-on green sources. But another Tech Edge, and he's content to still play the waiting game. And here we go, no more lands for Jonathan. He goes for the preordain.
Got a preordain though. It's pretty good.
Edgar's thinking about that mana leak.
Wow, what a sick read. Edgar's so good.
Wow, that is very similar to Paulo's play. That is insane. And then top 8 of Worlds, he
Oh, and Edgar's good.
yeah,
Brooklyn, stand up.
he knows what he's doing
That's a really high level play.
for sure. I mean, and like he did notice that Jonathan didn't have any green mana, which I guess plays into a little bit, but might have also just had some read somewhere, which is pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually got stuck on a Greyhound bus with Edgar for 14 hours coming back from Toronto back to New York City, and one of the things he said to me, he's like, I was playing against all these people and they're so easy to read. He's like, I knew when they had turn to slag. He's like, I quit my guy anyway because whatever, you're just gonna lose. I was laughing. I was like, really? But I feel like he's one of those people who's like, he's got really good card sense.
Yeah,
He's very good at
definitely.
figuring out what his opponents have in their hand.
So Jonathan does find a green source in Raging Ravine, but Tectonic Edge makes sure that never sees the light of day, and there's the power of those Tectonic Edges once again.
Yeah, he's just keeping John off green.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, John doesn't even have double red for a Inferno Titan at this point. Edgar's just going to brainstorm. He's content with John just aiming a bolt at that Jace.
Yeah, I mean, just
And
takes.
he can just replay a Jace if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, just
Just
takes
completely
time.
dominate the game.
And is that a Copperland Gorge you just drew? Yep. There's a Gorge. Keeps drawing those lands.
Hey, he's ripping the lands off the top. He's doing what he needs to do to have a shot here.
Yeah, absolutely. And preordained from Edgar.
I'm interested to see what happens.
And speaking. Oh, yep. And we see it, the preordained from Edgar.
Yeah, he's probably just going to want to make sure that he can hit his land drop in conjunction with his Tectonic Edge play this turn.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, the Tectonic Edge play loses a lot of value if he doesn't have a land drop to follow it up with. And if he doesn't get the Tech Edge, he might just, doesn't get the land, he might not even play that Tech Edge.
I mean, I think tech edging that Copperline Gorge here is so important just because, he clearly hasn't done a lot because he doesn't have green mana. And you just don't want to give him access to that because you don't know what's going to happen afterward. Obviously, you don't want to go down land drop, but let's see what he does. Alright, so he opts for Squadron Hawk. He chooses to not Tectonic Edge. And going for a Hawken.
Just gets two
Just
Squadron
gets
Hawks.
2 Hawks. Okay.
Puts him up to 7 cards.
Yeah. Gotta make sure you don't get a Hawk and then discard, right?
Now, John is drawing like a champ this game.
Yeah, he's finding what he needs to find. What?
this opportunity to cast a green spell.
He finds a forest. He's finding exactly what he's looking for. Man. And preordained from Edgar, another one. Looking into his future a little bit. And here comes Hawk.
He's going at 16. He's going to play lands. I'm surprised he didn't get the gorge there.
I mean, maybe he wants to represent Mana Leak. Like,
Well, I mean, I think he has
or
to
cancel.
deprive.
Alright, so there's the steady slime. Yeah, so he deprives. He has ended up using that deprive, yeah.
Oh, wow. Top of John's deck is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's been very kind to him this game.
Well, we have 2 Inferno Titans in John's hand, so, I mean, if Edgar can, just be smart about this and play slow, play careful, he might be able to just, know that he needs to tech edge his Copperline Gorge right now, because that's really his way to win. Oh, it looks like he may have drawn another tech edge, which makes that play, a lot more
I think he did.
reasonable.
Oh, alright, well,
Yeah.
that's a good start. Take 3, discard a card.
You might get him to pitch a bolt, right?
Yeah, I think that if you gotta throw that bolt down. Nope.
Oof.
Well, I mean, clearly he feels like he needs to bolt that Hawk to not get destroyed by sword, which is fair.
Now, Edgar's smart. Edgar knows my opponent just discarded an Inferno Titan with Inferno Titan mana in play. I can be pretty sure that my opponent's got some spicy juices in his hands.
Yeah. I think, oh, no, he's just gonna go for Jace. That's what it looks like.
Ooh, really?
Oh, no, he
That surprised
untaps.
me.
Nope, now he's
Wising
like,
up a
all
bit.
right, I gotta restrain myself.
Yeah.
And he's just gonna go for Stoneforge Mystic. Finding a sort of body in mind this time. And then, yeah, he tech edges that Copperline Gorge.
Yeah, there you go.
Very wise, Edgar, very wise.
See, he's tight, man.
Yeah.
We know both people's hands, and he's playing right.
It's pretty insane. So, I mean, Jonathan has a Jace that he drew, which is pretty good for him. And the best part about his brainstorming on the Jace, if he chooses to brainstorm, is he can hide the cards that he really needs and let his hand get picked apart by that sort of feast and famine. Okay. So he bolts. And then he bounces. So that sets Edgar back a little bit in his plans, but he can.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a pretty good play on John's part there, because now John has an unmolested Jason play, and if he draws a red source, he's tightening. And he really makes Edgar just, that Jace, again, pretty nice draw step for John.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, now that it has this many lands in play, most of his spells are pretty live, but at the same time, certainly rewarding him well. And, he's had some good draws so far, but that Nature's Claim was not what he was looking for. Still not awful, but he really needed a land there so he could...
Is that a claim or a Cobra? It's a claim?
I thought it was a claim. I think if it was a Cobra, we probably would have cast it that turn, right?
Probably.
Alright, and down comes Small Jace. He's going to pick up a card for Edgar. And tech edges that Halimar Depths. He's concerned. Mana Leak for Jonathan. Picking up another card. There's a Sun Titan.
How did he kill that first Jace? Big one.
Didn't they trade?
Oh, they traded Jaces and they replayed another
They traded
Jace?
Jaces, then he played, Small Jace. And then here comes Squadron Hawk.
Edgar has Sun Titan this week.
Yes, he does. That Sun Titan could be pretty awesome. And Jonathan found a land, but it might be a case of too little, too late.
Too late, yeah.
In this case, too many tectonic edges, too late. Finds the land. He's going to equip this guy up. And cashes in his last Jace with another Jace in his hand. Draws a Gideon. So we could just run that Gideon out and then serve.
Or you even just leave open his mana leak.
Yeah, I mean, the sword, I guess, it could be concerned about Nature's Claim, which is a totally fair reason.
It's true.
Jonathan considers his options.
And discards. Is that, no, that's a creature.
Mold Shambler.
That's Mold Shambler.
Yes.
Wow, interesting.
Sorry about missing that, guys.
Mold Shambler, eh?
It's a pretty cool one to have.
It's funny because like when you drew it, I was like, "Is that Mold Shambler?" Nah, it couldn't be Mold Shambler.
Couldn't be the moldiest of all of them.
And then there's one that ousts for Edgar a little late in the game. Now Edgar's in a pretty dominating position. I like how Edgar keeps playing with his Mystics, where he just chases them back and then draws it back. It just gives you such an advantage, and we haven't really seen a lot of that play today with the Hawks, sure, but not so much with the Mystics.
I mean, Edgar's squeaking out those extra cards. He's played this match so well.
Yeah, and he's played it really fast, and like he's made the correct decisions at practically every corner.
Like every time he was about to make a wrong play, it's like he was just like all of a sudden it's like that's not what I'm supposed to do. Let me switch. Let me make the right play.
And yeah, Jonathan just concedes. That's that. Edgar Flores, probably one win out of top 8 here, depending on how his tiebreakers fall. Wow.
And what's this record before this round? We have the pairings for round 8 here?
We do not. We just have round 6. Yeah.
Wow, that was a good game. Remember?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a great matchup of Magic to watch. I mean, those guys, like, Jonathan was just drawing the cards he needed. He was playing to his outs, and Edgar, like, just playing really tight.
Edgar played really well.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.